Welcome. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's almost the new year, and today we are going to rock your world. But of course, we always have to do the thing, don't we? We have to listen to the music. I'll see you guys in a second. Welcome. You're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is the Coffee Break Show, and it is brought to you by Metadime Digital Network. Now, today is a very special day. I see you guys starting to pop on. I want to welcome you aboard and say thank you for being here. Today is the end of 2021. Thank you, Jesus. And we are rolling into 2022. And I brought on today specifically a specific guest, Alexandra, and she is a energetic technologist. Now we're going to go into all of what that means and what it says and what it does, but essentially we're going to take a look into the kind of next year and what it's going to unfold, and we're going to learn about energy technology and maybe some of those things that are going to create more joy, more happiness for you, and more centered feeling as the world shifts and transforms as quickly as it does. And I just want to welcome Alex. Thank you for being on the Coffee Break Show. Do you like Alexandra or Alex? Tell me what you like.
Alex is good. You can call me Alex.
Good, because I feel like Alex, and we've been chatting. Now, you guys coming on, do me a favor, put your name down below and be part of the conversation. Here's the first question I have to ask, because I just want to make it really super clear to everyone. When you say technologist, energetic technologist, let's talk about exactly what it means, what you do, and how did you get into this kind of work?
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Vickie. Thank you for everyone tuning in as well. And energy technology, I use that term because it's the channeling of technology and using our body like we would any other instrument that channels energy, just like a light, right? That is the instrument that is channeling energy through it. So we are the instruments that are channeling divine energy for energy modalities. So a lot of people have heard of Reiki. That's probably the most well-known one. Yeah. And so I got into this. Actually, I grew up with Reiki. My mother is a Reiki master. Wow. So I grew up with Reiki. I grew up learning tarot when I was very young. I also was raised Christian, although I did fall out of that faith very young. I refound my faith after going to college and getting into quantum physics, so energy technology.
Yes.
So then I learned Reiki again after going into yoga. I had a very profound spiritual awakening. And then I discovered my own energy healing modality. And that's when I started calling it energy technology. Yeah. I feel like I'm like quantum speeding through the story here.
I know, but it's so interesting what you're saying. And, you said this earlier, and I thought it was so important to say. And the way you explained it made it so palpable to my brain. And I just want to repeat it. What is energy technology? It's like being the light bulb, and the lamp is earth, and there's the divine, and the electricity is the divine, and it illuminates from you just naturally. And if you could see yourself as that light bulb, boom. I loved that. I love that explanation of it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that also really drives home another point about energy modalities that I like to spread this message as well, that everyone can do it. So everyone can tap into, psychic gifts and intuition and using Reiki or other energy technologies. Anyone can do this. Anyone can tap into that technology. Just
thank you for that, because this is the point right here that I want to start making. Anyone can do this. It's true. Anyone can do this. And sometimes I think we've let these gifts atrophy because we've taken, shortcuts, if you will, or side roads, or, medications or something, instead of staying with it, learning how to do it. And when I was training with Barbara Brennan, my daughter, who was, I think she was maybe 9, years old, she could see everything. She could see energy, everything, because she had no filters, no blocks, no this. So growing in this Reiki, you must have been able to really implement this into your life fairly easily. It didn't atrophy in you. Isn't that amazing? What a gift.
Yes, I feel that I'm very fortunate that I was raised with this being part of life, like, because the matrix, that a lot of us are raised in, it tells us that, maybe you're crazy if you're seeing these things, if you see an aura or spirits or anything like that, maybe you're crazy. And that's what a lot of us are told. So I feel fortunate that I wasn't told that. However, being raised in the church, I did also receive other conflicting messages.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
And it's like, this divine piece of you isn't from the divine. Oh, yes, it is. And that's the hard part to accept. It's that, but that piece of it is divinity. And this is the tools that we can use energetically that are just part of us.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're all divine. We're all parcels of God put inside of
That's
us,
right.
walking in avatars, but we're all equal parts of God.
It's so interesting when we take a look at this new year and everything that's happening. And, even if we hear that we are the sons and daughters of God and that we are made in his image, and I believe all those things, I believe that that is true for us, we somehow don't even understand what his image is. We're like made in his image, but I bet another person can't say to me, well, what does that mean to be made in his image? Well, if that is these skills right here that you're talking about, this is what Jesus used, right? At these same skills, being able to pray for someone, lay their hands on someone. And to me, I remember one of my teachers saying, never, ever be afraid to approach someone with love. Never be afraid to approach them in that kind of loving kindness. So let's just talk about the state of the world for a second and your viewpoint on it right now. As to, I know that's a big question, isn't what is it that you see that's happening in the world? Because there's this, I want to let you know, she never knew what questions I was going to answer her. And I'm just want to go right deep in here, because there's this, to me, what's happening in the world is very spiritual. And it looks chaotic and it looks divisive. It looks violent right now. It doesn't look healthy. And yet at the same time, I wonder what it's uncovering. And I'd love to get your perspective on that. And I see you guys out there. I just want to pop over here. Yes. Good morning. Thank you for that. I've never heard of it put that way, but I totally resonate with your description of energetic technologies. Yes, love it.
Nice. Okay. So my view on the state of the world. Well, I feel that was really a divine question, because that's not something I usually come out talking about, which might be why you felt drawn to ask that as one of the first questions. So I have a lot of viewpoints on it. And one of the things that I really feel happening, especially right now, is a lot of timeline shifts. So I feel that there are a lot of choices and opportunities put in front of us. We can collectively make choices that will shift the timelines. Now, I know this is a pretty far out thing that I'm about to say, but it is something that I've been coming to the conclusion to spiritually, is that we might not all go on the same timelines together. And so choosing love and not choosing fear will bring us into the timeline that a lot of us really want to go into. That is one of my core beliefs right now. Also, that we are ascending. So like, if we look at, the yugas in yoga, which is the cycles of time.
Yeah, 1,000 years.
And then that aligns with the suns in the Toltec traditions as well. This is an ascending time. So that's an uncomfortable time for sure. But it has a lot to do with technology and rising up out of like the dark ages, and technology is a big part of that. So being aware too that technology can be where some of like the malevolent forces can lie, but it can also help to bring us up. So one of the reasons that I do teach online is to bring light into where those corners of malevolence can lie. So I think that a really big part of what's going on in the world right now is the choice between love and faith or fear.
Yes, that's really it. It's a decision factor, isn't it? I also feel like there is somebody is popping over here and just right over. She's an amazing teacher. I wonder who that is, Lindsay. Oh, nice to see you, my friend. So I want to go back into this world peace right now, and I mean PICE, not world PEACE. I just realized what I said. This conversation that we're having about the world, and I noticed that you said there is kind of a choice, right, between love and fear, and that's where your free will kind of stands. What are you going to choose? How are you going to unfold that? What's going to happen? And I know that because you read tarot, a lot of people are going to want to ask questions and say, well, what's going to happen? Well, to me, part of that is the choice you make on that timeline is going to assist in what is happening. Is that correct? And if so, can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So like when I read cards or I read Akashic Records, that's all the trajectory of where you are on right now. So like, especially when we're looking at the Akashic Records, but the tarot is a tool for reading that, tapping into the Akasha. So that is basically everything that has happened or will happen. And time is only linear here. It's not
That's
linear
right.
there. Everything
That's
has
right.
already happened in higher realms. So how I see it is that when we make choices, right? So some people can be like, well, then why does it matter what choices we make if everything's already been predetermined? But I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that there are many, many, many choices that we can take. And when we do make a choice, we act on one, then the time collapses, there's convergence, and that's when the timelines shift and our path is then born.
Agreed. In the shaman's way, there is a type of, if you have a near-death experience happens, there's a moment where there's about 3 months where you get to transform and literally change the trajectory of your whole life. You get like new karmas and everything else. This is how they see things when you come to that near-death thing and you decide to stay here versus check out.
Wow.
And there's, to me, a lot of that going on a massive, massive scale, disguised as the word pandemic.
Yes.
Because when you're sick, and I want to acknowledge right now, I have a friend of mine who's on the show right now, and I don't want to reveal his name, but I know he and his daughter are going through COVID right now. And I just want to say, I speedily wish you health and healing. And I know you probably feel like crap right now, but glad to see you on. I feel really privileged that you're even spending a couple of minutes with us today. But I feel like also this is a purposeful moment for you right now. Now that we're talking to Alexandra right now, and Alex is with us, you can say, thank you. It's okay. You can say it. All right, Robert, I hope you feel better, my friend. Thank you for giving me permission to say your name. I didn't want to reveal it, but I'm sorry you're feeling bad. And I know that you're here right now, but this is what I see as the transformation point for millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
And it's that reviewing your life and saying, what do I actually want? What's actually important to me? And let me ask you something. When somebody goes through these transformation pieces, Alex, let's take a deep dive and maybe name 3 things that people need to do when they're going through transformation or going through change, and it's painful or it's unknown or it feels too new, or they don't know, like they don't have a sense of themselves anymore, what was their past or who they were in their past.
Yeah. So not having a sense of the self anymore sounds like the ego losing its comfort, and that's okay, because at our core we are our soul, right? And it's our
That's
ego that
right.
is here temporarily, and that ego can change its identity over time. So that's okay if you're feeling a loss over who you are right now. Is uncomfortable. That's okay, and that is also the key to growth. And what was the other part of your question?
Well, thank you. I wanted 3, thank you for that. 3 things that somebody who's lost their sense of self and perhaps lost everything, because what I see is a lot of transformation and there's a lot of loss of what used to be. Like I own this business and now it's gone. It's been closed down because of the pandemic. Or I had this home, I had this life, and it all burned up in the fires. And I'm starting at zero and I don't have a sense of meaning. I've lost my sense of self. And now I'm trying to build this new world. And, that sense of the ego piece, I totally get that. That makes sense. I've been through that myself. And of course, as we're going and we're talking about this right now, I wanted to add a couple of things for them to be and pay attention to that might be more like a self-care. This is a moment in time, not who you are kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I believe that like we can hold so much. So when things are being taken out of our lives, that's happening for us, right? So
Yes.
it's creating space for something better, if you please, if you allow that to come in. So it's like the tower in the tarot cards, if you're familiar with it. So the tower is like people built this tower up and they're trying to reach heaven. And then it's like, okay, well, now that's going to come crashing down because your foundations weren't strong enough, and really be more concentrated on earth, not trying to like reach the heaven. So boom, there's lightning bolt, everything comes crashing down, rebuild. So it's kind of like that. And restructuring, right? So I think that one of the most important components when everything comes crashing down and you have to rebuild everything, I've been there too, is finding community. That's really important, especially when you're like starting to like think about your spirituality more. A lot of the time when that happens, the people who have been in our life up till that point might not like mesh with that so much, or they or they might want to come along for the ride. But I think it's best to like voice that that's where you're at. People tend to be really say, hey, I'm like connecting to my spirituality. It's best to like share that in my experience, and then find community.
That's so amazing that you're saying this, because I want to be as transparent as possible with my audience. So one of the things that I've noticed for me that happened over 2020 and 2021 is that I've become more quiet, more introvert. And I'm a really big extrovert, as you can obviously see. But there's something inside me that's gotten very quiet, not in a painful way, not in an exuberant way, but there's a stillness that seems and feels very deep to me. It's stillness and it is silent. And I enjoy more time alone and quiet now than I do, let's go out to dinner, clubbing, show, concert, let's go. There's something insular about what's happening in the world as well, as I see the world imploding and exploding at the same time. And what I wonder is, you learn to listen more. I'm just going to pop this up. You learn to listen more, listen to your inner self, listen to others, listen to your surroundings. Let's talk about the new kind of, well, it's not the new kind of listening, but listening inward. How is it that somebody who's listening inward, and then I want to talk about Akashic Records. Now, listen, she has a deck of tarot in her hands. If you have a question and it's not like, hey, does she love me? And you actually have a question, if you pop your question into and make it kind of global and relevant to the show, I'll pop it up there and we can, talk about the future. And I want to know, what do you think next year is going to bring us as insight, as spirituality? What can we look forward to, or how is it going to unfold a little in this world? What's it going to be like?
Yeah. So do you want me to pull for that now? Okay.
Let's do that. I just thought of it and I thought, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So let's pull some cards for what the year looks like for the collective. And so we'll see if any messages come through as well, channeled.
I would love that. That would be so fun. And if you guys have a question, go ahead and pop it in and we'll get to it. So this is kind of exciting.
Okay.
Do we have one fall?
We did. It's a jumper.
Ooh, all right. That's got a message.
Yeah.
A joker.
Okay, so I did what to release for the upcoming year. And what came out is the Seven of Wands. Whoops, there. With awakening. So this
Neat.
is an interesting message because the Seven of Wands is like standing on higher ground and like kind of batting something off. And it's saying like, don't push away the awakenings that are coming, that are naturally coming to the masses, really, because it's a collective experience. So
Mm.
not pushing that away. It's happening. It's happening in our sleep. There's a lot happening in the dream space. So not denying any of that, just letting it happen because it's happening anyway. So to more easily integrate it, to accept it.
Mm.
And for what is coming this year, the Justice card came in with protection and calling back your own power. So this is massively karmic. So the Justice card is about karma coming into balance. And yeah, and then this protection card is about pulling back your power. So I feel what I'm pulling up and channeling as well at the same time about this is that this is going to have to do also with like the governments and like bringing back our power back to the people, having our protections up, like the truths. So maybe protect yourself against like mass media, messages like that. And the truths are going to start funneling in. That is the card of justice, is that it's inevitable. And it is always in our benefit.
That is, because it's always the truth that sets you free. Yeah. And that is really something that's great. We already have a question from our audience. Okay, I want the question: when a person has a setback, e.g. COVID with me and my daughter, how do I start to look at things more intently instead of looking at things as the now moment? Oh, I see. How to look at things with more intention versus this is happening to me now and it sucks. Is that kind of what you're asking, Robert? I hope that is. How can we look at things more intentionally instead of looking at things as the now moment?
Okay.
Interesting question.
Yeah. So I think that maybe you don't need to separate them, right? So like everything like in the present is like, you know, where you want to be. You want to be in the present, even if it is uncomfortable. So like, even if it isn't something you necessarily want to be experiencing, trying to get away from that causes suffering. So just like, you know, leaning into it until it passes, because everything passes. And sometimes there's a lesson, sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's an experience that your soul needs, right? Maybe it's clearing something away. So let's see what the cards have to say about it.
Yeah, let's see what the cards have to say about it. And thank you for your question. Anybody else, if you're listening and you got a question, you're going to need to be at the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. Let me see if I know there are people watching on other channels right now, but if you're wanting to communicate and ask your question, then the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life Facebook channel is where you want to be. Okay, I have another question coming up. Stephanie Hartman, nice to see you, my friend. I definitely am going to get to your question. I popped on over to another channel. There are questions and what people coming on different channels. Okay. Barb, there's going to be, all right, there we go. We have other questions here as well. Okay. So one question at a time, people. You go, girl.
Okay. So, Robert, just to finish your question here, what came up was the Eight of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Two of Pentacles. So this is definitely about like seeing like basically what I just said about like you can't really escape your experience in the moment, and knowing that it will change, right? So like it's just the process of, like I mentioned earlier, linear time. It's going to change. So like stay in the moment, even if it is uncomfortable, and there will be a transformation. And like the level of transformation is up to you, right? So like there's another card here that says prosperity lies ahead. So I think that really what you make out of the situation is really what will come from it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. I'm going to go over to the next question, which is from Stephanie Hartman. And I'm in Canada. It makes a difference with the answers, is what she wants to know. She says, what's happening with leaders possibly taking away our liberties? What's going to happen with the leaders who are possibly taking away our liberties? That's a powerful question. And let's see what's coming up. And we got to thank you, Alexandria.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alex. Stephanie, I'm with you. And we know that there are leaders. Maybe we could just do, both countries. Who knows? So,
yeah. So, all right. So what's coming through with the cards here is, this is a collective choice. I have mentioned this a few times already.
yeah.
And there is a card here about light workers. So energy is so unbelievably powerful. So people here, like a lot of what I see happening is people saying, well, I have no power. I have no power here. Whatever's happening with government is out of my control. That's not true. Right. So like we have a lot of power with meditation, with our mind. Actually, we really do have a lot of power there. So there's going to be a lot of truths coming out. There's going to be a crumbling of sorts of society as we know it, is what it looks like. We have the Tower here, which I mentioned earlier. Yeah. And we also have the King of Swords with the Three of Pentacles. So this means that there will be world leaders coming together. How that plays out remains to be seen. But what's important is that we have the Ace of Cups here. We keep our own cups full, right? So like energetically, remember to keep your own power, okay? Because that feeds the whole collective.
Yes. And this is so interesting too, because the karma that's being played out in consciousness as a whole, as everyone else, and individual karma being played out also is part of the mix. But you can have discernment. You can really decide, and you have the power to transform and rise above any of that and change it. I want to know, and Stephanie, did we answer your question? Do you guys have another question? I'm sitting here, and she said yes. Thank you. So she's saying yes, and I can only monitor 2 channels right now. So you can either be at Vickie Helm's Facebook page where Stephanie is, or you could be at the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. Now, if you're on iHeartRadio, if you're on Pandora, and you have a question for Alex, you can certainly jump on, ask your question, and I'll put it in there. If you're driving, drive safe. Don't be trying to text and drive at the same time. This is going to be here. I want to pop over here and say hi to Barb Tomlin, who I absolutely adore. For this baby boomer, 2022 is going to be my Be Like Betty White year. Hashtag. Invaluable lessons to learn from 100 years of longevity. Wow. So I'm wondering what I want to know. I don't even know how to phrase this question because I'm trying to make it global instead of country centric. And I realized that with Stephanie's question. You mentioned that there's going to be some leadership alliances. And I want to know, are they different country alliances or is this like an alliance that perhaps hasn't made itself up, or we stop bombing each other and actually begin to coordinate and work together? Is the choice of that there, or are these separate secret alliances that are happening?
Oh, wow. That's such a good question.
It's like, okay, we're out there and here we go.
I feel like that's just a whole lot of yes. Like there's a lot of layers to that. And I feel like there are secret alliances. Definitely. And they've been at play for a long time. And I do feel that as like countries feel that it will benefit them financially, they'll also stop bombing each other. So let's see what the cards have to say about that.
Yeah, somehow I have to think that as a collective, we have to be able to love and attune strong enough to be able to shift this. I think the thing that people think is that we don't have any say in how it shifts, when I think we do.
We definitely do. We do.
Good. After this question, I'm going to be talking to her about personal power and how to go ahead and meet your own personal power and take your power back. After you answer this question, I'm just,
So we have Justice, the World, and Ace of Pentacles. So it's definitely a new beginning for the world. And there will be an alignment, Right. So like I do believe that countries will be coming together more. And just what's ringing over and over in my head is the New World Order. So this could
Mhm.
benefit some people, but it also might take away some of our liberties. So again, just remembering that you're sovereign being, your sovereign soul, and holding that in your energy field, I think is important.
Yeah, I think there is going to be some uncovering of things that were lies that are suddenly going to be truths. And there is also going to be some collapsing of structures that are old and the building of structures that are new. And I'm not sure who this is that's saying good morning, but I just want to say good morning back to you. Welcome to the show. And if you have any questions for Alex, just put them in here. You have to be at the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel or my Vickie Helm page, and I will be watching for questions at both places. But I want to talk about personal power.
Mhm.
They may align to the liberties. They may align to take the liberties away. Yes, I could see that. It would be good to know what we each other do to help keep a good outcome. Yes, that's an interesting question. What can we do together that we each can do to help keep a good outcome? Interesting.
That's such a
Let's
good
talk. What a great question. Thank you. That was from Stephanie in Canada.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I think that the number one thing to focus on is love. That's the glue of the universe. That's like
Mm.
what we are aligned to as the one when we bring us like back to the core of our souls is love, right? And that eliminates the fear, which is causing a lot of like the chaos and commotion. Also, like on a daily basis, meditation could be really, really, really helpful. So there are a lot of
Mhm.
studies that show when mass meditations happen, crime rates drop around the world. So
Oh.
meditation is massively impactful. So learning things like energy technologies, this really makes a big difference.
It's so interesting because this is not a human problem. This is not just a human existence. It's a divine piece of orchestration. And if we believe the divine, the most important thing I think we can understand is that no matter what happens, we're safe. Whether
Yeah.
you live or you die,
Mhm.
you're safe. The illusion in this world, the being wrapped up in what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, how's it going to unfold, that takes you away from your very core inner power, which is that you can transform you, you can transform it. The second you transform you, you have a different outcome, right?
Yes.
So how is it that we can take our power back or understand what our inner powers are that are divine, that are given to us by God to make things shift for us? Or how is it that we can move things forward? And I'm talking divine, not hustle and grind. So this is a spiritual conversation with Alex. And this is the how to use a different part of you that we've almost forgotten exists.
I think really you just got to the main crux of it in what you just said about we're safe no matter what, right? Because like what my spiritual mentor taught me, one of the most profound things was the biggest lie we've ever been told is to fear death.
Mhm.
And that's a major thing. So returning to the fact that we are immortal, boundless beings that are all one consciousness put into individuations and connecting with this through meditation, through the breath, and blocking out distractions, right? And there are some distractions are worse than others. So I already mentioned like mass media. There's a lot of brainwashing happening there. So I
Yep.
would suggest limiting that or eliminating it.
I want to talk about something. The mass media, I agree with you. There's a part of it that is absolute misinformation, and it's a disinformation because the more you're confused, the more control they have over you. And when you're not confused is when you're listening inward to your own message, what it tells you to do, where it tells you to go, what it tells you to do next. But what are some of the ways that and meditation is one of them,
Mhm.
but what are some of the other ways that we can listen in to our own message from our own, media inside us? And what are ways that we can connect with that as well?
Yeah, so I think that differs like person to person. So
Mm.
beginning first of all to tune into how do you like how do your antenna work? How do you pick up the signals from the universe? Because that is unique for each person. You can tap into like every clair. Honestly, you can. And clairs are like ways of tapping into intuition. So everyone can tap into all of them, but some are stronger for others. So start to sense into like how you pick up on these things. So for some of us, dreams, right? Or there's like an inner sense of knowing. Some people like to write, and as they write, they'll start to sense into the truth of things. Some people like to use tools like tarot. I like to do that. You can also astral travel, right? So like that's taking your meditation even a step further. So I would feel out different techniques and see what really, really works for you.
This is such an important thing to have happen or to go through, because everyone, I was trying to remember the Bible verse. I know it's in Corinthians. It's in First Corinthians in the Bible. There is, I think it might be 1 through 12 or whatever. It talks about the gifts that people have. It says some people will be born with the ability to have prophecy. Some are born with healership. Some are born with, and he goes through all of these spiritual gifts that everybody has access to. And the key thing is, the tapping into what your gift is and utilizing, like for her, to me, I experience her as an intermediary right now between the questions I'm asking. And so for her, she's this energy technologist that can help reconnect you back to your own divinity via several modalities. Well, those modalities, everybody has a modality. For me, I feel like my greatest gift is the ability to love someone back into their full state of beingness, who they authentically are, and that would be my goal. And to me, what's happening right here, right now, is if you're confused, how is it that we can stop looking outside of ourselves and become where we're looking inside ourselves? Some people think that thinking is looking inside themselves. How do we get to actually the real part of us that says, I am soul having a human experience? How would you help somebody get back into that place where they're actually not thinking their way through it, but actually feeling their way through it? Or you know what I mean? I know that's
Yeah.
like, you can't answer that in one session in this, but a quickie answer.
Yeah, that is such an amazing differentiation. I love that you separated that from like thinking as to feeling into the truth. And actually, there's a practice in yoga called pratyahara, and this is blocking out external stimuli that can confuse you or make you overthink, right? So that's the practice of it. And what you just mentioned, Vickie, actually is what I work with, which is the layers of the self. So there are 5 of them. So there's the physical, then there's the energetic, then there's the mental, and then there's the wisdom. And so what you're talking about is going through that mental layer of the thinking and the thinking, which can cause overthinking and negative thinking and all that, and transcending that and going into the truth, that that akasha, right? So in order to do that, we have to train our brains to overcome all of these thoughts, because we have up to 90,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are repeating, and a lot of them are repeating negative things. So they create like grooves in the brain, right?
Yep.
And just continue to repeat themselves. So pratyahara, like withdrawing from the outer
Yeah.
stimuli and coming into just a place of silence, just be with your breath. Listen to your heartbeat. Listen to the sounds around you. Vipassana meditation is what this is. This is where you just
Vipassana.
notice
Yes.
things around you, notice yourself, right? So this is a wonderful starting point of just
So it's interesting because I'm going to just dive in right here. This is so important. There is the personality self, which is the physical self, and then there's the energetic self. The energetic self is pure awareness or consciousness. And that's something that she is just pointed out. It's like you have to move past the physicalness And Vipassana is a form of meditation. And I just like, oh my gosh, there are people here. I'm not sure who this is. Samantha, nice to meet you. To take her Bliss Blueprint course. It's amazing.
Oh, that's
All
amazing.
right. And there are a bunch of people that are VASF Tech something. There's a bunch of people on right now on YouTube that have popped over to the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. If you have a question or you want to ask her something, you can certainly do that. I personally find that when I am in nature, it's easier to tap into it. It is really true. So what happens to me, this is, I want to go with the Vipassana thing, because I think for me, I am a, very exuberant person. Obviously, I'm not a shy person, and I can be quickly caught up in the world. What's happening? What's out there? And blah, blah, blah. It's all out there, out there, out there, out there. And this last couple of years, there's something in me that's gotten very quiet, and it has done contemplative, meditative kind of things. But what the world does is fight for your attention. Your attention is part of your awareness. And wherever you place that attention, your awareness has to go with it. So that pulling that awareness and that attention back means that the part of you, that nanosecond where you get to choose where you're going to place your attention. I want to talk about, so I've decided right now, Alex, that's it. I'm not watching any media.
Okay.
And I'm going to just turn this off, and I'm going to turn that off, except for the coffee break show, because it's the only show I watch. Just saying.
Yes.
It's the only show I listen to. All right. So now we know that that's a show. And I decide that I want to become quiet, and I'm sitting in or practicing yoga or sitting in meditation. I'm doing Vipassana practice. But when I sit down, all of a sudden, all I can think about is thinking about it. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Or this is stupid. I'm just sitting here doing nothing. Or how is it that we move past that to even get a glimpse of or feel where we are placing our attention? Because I believe that we have to separate the thinking from the attention.
Absolutely.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Definitely. And I would say practice being the witness. So practice witnessing your own thoughts. So like when thoughts arise, like let's say my back hurts. Okay. So, well, this is what back pain feels like. And I notice that my mind is trying to escape that. And like just noticing all the things that your brain does. So actually being the witness of your thoughts. So stepping into the ownership of being the observer of your mind, not actually being the monkey mind itself.
Yes, because that's the thing that needs to unhook. That's the thing that needs to separate. We have to unlock ourselves from the monkey mind. And let me tell you something. The monkeys are insane right now, and they are stirring the pot. And they are stirring the pot so that you are held captive by the monkeys. You have to want to break away from the monkeys more than anything else. So here's the thing. I want to talk about, here's duality. Here's the duality: cold, hot, yes, no, up, down, blah, blah, blah. When you find your attention and your soul, there's a part of you that rises above the duality. How can we begin to, I'm really going deep with her, you guys. I'm really these are advanced questions, and I know it and she knows it. So how do we arise above the duality? Because monkey mind is in the duality. Wisdom and discernment are above that monkey mind that we're moving through. And I want to know, what are some of the ways, as we begin to meditate, as we begin to move ourselves through this, because that's what I think the new world is. It's the world above duality. Yeah. And I'm wondering, what is your take on that? How can people begin to move away from the dual, which is good, bad, right, wrong, Republican, Democrat, human, non-human?
Yeah. Yeah. Non-human. I love that. So it's amazing that you bring this up, because my practitioners who I train, they're called unifiers. And the reason is
Ooh.
because we unify the duality, right? So
Mhm.
like we identify in our human experience greatly through duality. And when we become energy technologists or energy practitioners, we then are able to unify these two dualities. So whether that's yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine, or any of the other dualities that you just mentioned, we're unifying them. This is also what yoga really is. This is the union, this is the yoking, and this is really the essence of who we are, the oneness, right? So the one consciousness isn't duality. Duality was only born when the consciousness wanted to express itself, and then we came about all of our expressions. So noticing that one isn't better or worse than the other, right? Like those are just things that we like that we label them with. Like when I explain the like darkness to my practitioners, it's like dark isn't evil. That's just what we put into it. Darkness is actually like where like light can be created in. That's like where architecture can be born in. But it's easier for things to hide within. So sometimes it's mistaken as being evil. If it's evil, just call it evil. But so like, you know, marrying the two, not being afraid of one or the other, and not saying that one is better than the other. That
Mhm.
makes sense.
You know, it's interesting because there was a point all my life, absolutely from the time I was a little girl till right now, I knew that I was born for this moment in history to help people move through this point in history. I absolutely knew it. I knew that I took an assignment, so to speak, and I said yes to it. I said yes to the circumstances, the everything about it that could be yes to. And part of being responsible to this new thing, and you guys, I know that my internet just went wonky a little bit and I'm fuzzy, but it'll be okay. We'll be back in just a minute. And there we go. It's getting clearer again. But I want to talk about responsibility. I want to talk about being responsible inside, and for people who are blaming like everything out there, they're blaming the pandemic, they're blaming our government, they're blaming. This is happening to me because. What is the truth? Because I think you're here because you said yes to this assignment. And how is it that you can take your power back by allowing yourself to accept that you are stronger and more capable than your mind thinks you are?
Mm, yeah, absolutely. I think that what you just mentioned is a really big part of it. It's like saying, hey, this is something that I chose to be here for, right? Because when we say like, oh, I pulled like the short straw. I'm here at such a crummy time. Why am I not here in the 50s or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that is victimhood, right? But
Mhm.
we are sovereign beings, right? We have to take responsibility of the fact that we control our lives in every way, right? So like our income, our surroundings, the people in it, whether you chose them before you landed on this earth or now what you're creating in it. You're sovereign being, and this is all that you chose already, and you can still continue to create the best out of it.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this because um, this is something that if you've gone through in your life, and I'm certain you have because you haven't gotten where you are without it, there is a point sometimes where you may lose everything, where everything is just gone. And you may not have um, a great attitude right now. You might be feeling loss or remorse or grief or something that is there. And I know that one of the things that I've learned that I think is really important for everyone to understand is that if you chose to be here, it's because you're the best of the best, not because you suck. God didn't say, well, it's going to be a really crappy time there and you don't know anything, so let me just throw you in the fire. Good luck. That's not what happened. The best of the best are down here. One of the things that I think is so important about now is that this is the time where you get to learn to create something out of nothing, because that's how you got here. You came from formlessness into form, and you still have that ability to take formlessness and create form. the question is, and the thing I think that Alex is really saying that is so important, is that in order to create form, you have to accept that you can do this. If you don't accept, or you don't have that concept of self, you're still creating it. Whether that's the whole thing. You're creating the with or without.
Yes.
And so the thing about the awareness piece that we were talking about earlier, that is just there where she said, be the witness to your thoughts. The question I think everybody is going to be asking themselves is, what am I saying to myself that is creating this reality right now? And then my question to Alex is, what can we say to ourselves that will bring us in the moment with the realization? What can we say to ourselves that will help us generate what it is that we want? Not just witnessing it, but how can we tap into the part of us that is the creator piece and bring in more of ourselves here now and take advantage of this massive opportunity we're going through?
Absolutely. Wow. That's such a good question. So I feel that maybe the biggest piece to this is already being like grateful for what we have. So every morning I wake
Absolutely.
up and I'm like, this is a great day. Thank you, day. And like I stand at my window, I'm pressing my window, and like ever since I started that practice, wow, like I'm really creating my world because I'm so blessed by it. I love it so much. And we already are creating it, just like you said, whether you want to accept that or not. We're already creating our reality. And gratitude practice is like probably the most powerful thing that you can infuse into your life. So if you really want to jumpstart manifesting the life that you really want, I would say start with gratitude. Boundless.
Yeah. And I want to, this is so powerful. And a lot of people are like, God, I've heard that before, blah, 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 blah. Practice it.
Yes.
Practice it and witness that you're saying, I heard this before, blah, 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 because you're creating more of that. I think the most important thing that we can talk about today and listen to is that you have the power to transform and become and have your whole beingness and live from there instead of putting ourselves outside into the world. I think the most important thing is that our next year is a year where you can be the butterfly or whatever you want to be. You can be the cocoon, you can be the little caterpillar, or you can be the butterfly. Wherever you are in your journey, be present with what that is and witness the transformation that is going to be happening with or without you. Now, I want to go back to your question or the statement you made about dreams being very active right now, the dream state. Because what people have a tendency to think is, well, dreams aren't real. This is real, but the dream state, that's not real. And I disagree with that. And I want to know what your perspective of the dream state is. And how is it that if you have very premonition or active dreams, instead of being afraid of them, how can you listen to them and let them guide you a little bit?
Yeah. So I had just mentioned the 4 outermost layers before. Well, the 5th one is called the bliss layer. And actually, we most often tap into that in our sleep. And that's actually the closest layer to the divine. So we shed off our physical gear, and we're closer to the divine. We're in the etheric at that time. I believe that dreams are really real and that we can create from the dream space.
That's
I've
right.
had so many people tell me that they have had me in their dreams healing them, or they've woken up with like me beside them healing them. And that's what I do in my sleep. And I'm not tired from it, but I'm always working in my sleep. And I believe that there's a lot to be found in the dream space. Lucid dreaming is a practice. So if that is something that you want to practice to have more control over your dream state, you can listen to meditations, even like on YouTube, that can help to guide you into your sleep so that you can remember or have control over your dreams. Or you can just set the intention. And as you go to sleep, I will remember my dreams. I will have lucid dreaming and set that intention. You can also ask for healing during your sleep. I often ask my guides and my angels, can you please give me messages or what I need to know about this?
That's what I do. I was
Yeah.
just going to say that I get instructions instructions, what,
Yes.
make this class, do this thing, blah, blah, blah. My whole itinerary comes there.
Me too. I get so many like class downloads in my sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this has been so exciting. I want to check the other channel just for a second. I'm trying to do both things. This is so that we can thank you, everybody. Dreams are powerful. Yes, they are. I got to tell you, I've had so many premonition dreams that came true. I've had so many things that happen like that. Dreams are very powerful and they give you multiple messages, but the dreams are another reality of you. They're another aspect. You're a multi-dimensional being. You're not just this meat suit. And although your mind knows it, there's part of you that your mind doesn't want you to activate that part. And you have to ask yourself, why doesn't it want me to do that? Why doesn't it want me to control it now? I want you to understand there is you, and then there's your thinking. There is you, and then there's your mind. There is you, and then there's your ego. And you got to figure out who you are and get that mind and ego to serve the you that is there and not run the you that is there. And this is part of what dreams do for us, because when you dream, you that is there is actually there, and the mind and ego are asleep. Um, uh, this is an interesting question. What if you've stopped having dreams? This is something that happened to me over 5 years ago. What if you stopped having dreams? There's got to be another door or a window open somewhere.
Yeah. And I believe that they come in cycles as well. So there could be periods of like a year or two where you have a lot more active dreams than other times. I would, if you want to have more memorable dreams, because you probably are dreaming, but don't remember them all. You can just set that intention before going to sleep. Please help me to remember my dreams. Please wake me after I have a dream so I can write it down. So you might wake up during your sleep and then you can write down your dreams as they occur. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are times when I've had spells where I don't dream, and it's usually because of stress and a lack of sleep. But when I sleep healthily, dreams are always there, and it's something that I live by. Thank you for that question, Barbara. That was a great question. I want to let you know we're at the top of the hour, and I am curious. What if somebody wants to work with you? What if somebody wants to take your Bliss Blueprint course right here? What if they want to get a reading from you? Where can they find you? Where can they get you? Where is it? And Robin, will you put all that stuff inside the show notes in the thread?
Yes. So they can find me at gracethroughgravity.com. And I teach the Bliss Blueprint course and the Awakened Bliss Codes, which is the energy technology that I downloaded from the Akashic Records. And I also do one-on-one spiritual advisement.
That's fantastic. And I just want to say, hey, Peter, nice to see you on, my friend. This is Alex. We're headed that way. Now, listen, here is her contact stuff. It looks like this on the screen, but if you go in the show notes, it'll just be the link there. You can contact Alex at the link there, gracethroughgravity.com, gracethroughgravity.com. This has been such an incredible show, Alex. And I kind of want to drive on, but I also know the energy it takes to answer all of these things. But here's what I would like to ask of you, this one thing. If you could share a message right now to the world, and you could say whatever you wanted to say to it for this new year, going into that new year, I'd love to give you the platform to do that right now. And I'm wondering if you do and what you would say.
Well, I think I'll let Spirit speak. Spirit
Thank
tends
you.
to have more powerful messages than me. So I'll channel the message from Spirit, whatever
Thank
needs
you.
to be said. So there's a very, very, very strong message coming through to work with your guides and to work with your angels. There's a strong message that a lot of people don't know who their guides or angels are. That's okay. All you have to do is ask for them to be known. So this could be through meditation or through your dreams. If you don't dream, don't worry. You might be really surprised that you start having dreams. Your guides and your angels want to work with you. Everyone has them. Super strong message for this. So if you're working with them, please keep working with them. If you're not working with them yet, start working with them. We all need these allies, and the more that we have them working here, they continue to work together in the collective with one another as well. That's a strong message coming through.
Wow, that's so beautiful. We always tend to think that community is only the community of humans, but it is the community of the divine as well. Alexandra, you are such a blessing. And I want to let you know that my heart is full, really full. And I feel so blessed that you've been with us today. Thank you for being on the Coffee Break Show. And I'm definitely, I promise you guys, I will have her back. We'll get her scheduled in the future so we can ask questions. Robert, Mr. Ambassador, please be restful and take care of yourself. And Raina, you too. Don't be all exuberant and everything. You guys rest. All right. There's only one thing left to do, and that is listen to the music. I'll see you guys next Wednesday.